How New York became the world's greatest city. New York City, home to over 8 million people, 32 streets, 5 boroughs, and 3 rivers, is a place unlike any other. Yet, much of what defines it today, from its iconic skyline to its vibrant culture, barely existed a century ago. The story of New York is one of constant evolution and reinvention. Long before skyscrapers and subways, this land was rich with forests and wildlife, inhabited by Native American tribes, primarily the Lenape people, who lived sustainably for thousands of years. This changed with European exploration in the 16th century. In 1524, Italian explorer Giovanni da Verrazzano, sailing for France, became the first European to enter New York Harbor. But it wasn't until 1609, when Henry Hudson explored the area for the Dutch, that settlement began to take root. By 1624, the Dutch established New Netherland, with New Amsterdam, now Manhattan, as its capital. Fort Amsterdam was built at the southern tip of Manhattan to protect the fur trade, forming the foundation of the city. In 1626, the Dutch purchased the island from local Native Americans for goods worth about $10 today. The colony grew under Dutch rule, though not without controversy. Religious restrictions, control over alcohol, and a lack of political freedoms stirred discontent. Nevertheless, by the mid-1600s, the settlement had expanded and defensive walls were built, the origin of present-day Wall Street. In 1664, during Anglo-Dutch conflicts, the English seized the colony without a fight, renaming it New York after the Duke of York. Though briefly retaken by the Dutch, it returned permanently to British control in 1674. Under English rule, New York flourished as a trading hub, slavery became deeply rooted, and by the 1740s, 1 in 5 residents was enslaved. As tensions with Britain grew, New York became a center of revolutionary thought. The Stamp Act Congress convened here in 1765, and the Sons of Liberty organized resistance in the streets. During the Revolutionary War, New York was first held by the Continental Army, but fell to the British after the Battle of Long Island in 1776. The British occupied the city until the war's end in 1783. Afterwards, New York emerged as a symbol of liberty and was briefly the capital of the United States. George Washington was inaugurated here in 1789 at Federal Hall. The 19th century brought rapid expansion. Wall Street rose as a financial hub, bolstered by the creation of the Bank of New York and the New York Stock Exchange. The Erie Canal, completed in 1825, transformed New York into America's leading port. Immigrants flooded the city, Irish, Italians, Jews, Chinese, Germans, all seeking opportunity. New York's population soared from 60 in 1800 to over 500 by mid-century. Yet growth brought challenges. Overcrowded tenements became breeding grounds for disease and poverty. The Great Fire of 1835 destroyed much of Lower Manhattan. Gangs roamed areas like Five Points and Hell's Kitchen. Civil unrest peaked during the 1863 draft riots, sparked by opposition to the Civil War conscription policies and racial tensions. Despite its struggles, the city thrived culturally. Central Park opened in 1858, providing green space in the heart of the city. Theaters of Broadway, Carnegie Hall, the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and the American Museum of Natural History solidified New York's cultural significance. In 1886, the Statue of Liberty was unveiled, a gift from France and a symbol of hope for millions of immigrants arriving through Ellis Island. By the early 20th century, the city's skyline began to change dramatically. The subway opened in 1904. Bridges like the Brooklyn and Manhattan connected boroughs. Skyscrapers, including the Woolworth, Chrysler, and Empire State Buildings, defined the city's ambition. During the Roaring Twenties, New York was a hotspot of jazz and culture, even as Prohibition drove nightlife underground into thousands of speakeasies. The Great Depression hit hard after the 1929 stock market crash, with unemployment and poverty widespread. Central Park became home to shantytowns known as Hoovervilles. World War reignited the city's economy. Its factories, shipyards, and ports became essential to the war effort. Troops and supplies flowed through the city, helping turn the tide for the Allies. Post-war, New York emerged as a global capital. The United Nations established its headquarters here in 1952. It became a center of art, fashion, finance, and media, rivaling London and Paris. Despite rising crime and economic struggles in the 1970s, The city reinvented itself again and again. The construction of the World Trade Center in 1973 marked a new era of ambition. Though tragically lost in 2001, the site has since been rebuilt, symbolizing resilience. Over its 400-year history, New York has endured colonization, revolution, fire, poverty, war, and tragedy, yet it has always rebounded. It is a city defined not by its setbacks, but by its spirit to rise, adapt, and inspire. That is how New York became, and remains, one of the greatest cities in the world.